So I'm going to run through how I made this mind map for biology topic 1, and it's basically the same for chemistry and physics. Whatever I'm doing here, I do for the other 2 sciences as well. And the main source of the information that I use to make these mind maps is these revision guides. So these are the CGP ones, just the bog standard, like the triple science ones. So first of all, when you look at the mind map, you can clearly see the title is in the middle of the page, and for each science I chose a different colour. So for biology I chose green, and then for chemistry and physics I chose different highlighter colours so that I could distinguish between the 2. And then coming off of the title, I then have these subtitles in like an ink pen, just one that stood out amongst all the biro. So these titles relate to the titles at the top of the page. So for example, sales is here and that's that title, specialised sales here, that's that one, and so forth. So I'm not very imaginative when it comes to titles. I literally just copy what is in the textbook for like what they've titled it, because that means that when I'm looking at a mind map and suddenly I need some more clarification, I can go to that exact page in the textbook and there's no, I don't have to rummage through the whole textbook.
So to begin with, I would use regular 6x4 index cards, and I would keep them in this plastic box, which I will leave a link to in the description. And then in terms of making my flashcards, there were 2 approaches I would usually take. The first would be to make informative, more note-style-y type of flashcards. The second approach, and the one I found the most effective, was to use flashcards to make test yourself sort of things. This is one of my key methods for remembering things for tests. So the way I make notes for these flashcards is more or less the exact same way I make revision notes, just in general. So if you want to know how I make revision notes, you can check out my video that I made before. But in a nutshell, I'll pick what topic I'm revising / making cards for, and then using a textbook or whatever other revision materials I have, I'll start picking out key pieces of information and summarizing stuff to put on the cards. I often get asked how I know what information to include, and usually it's quite clear in the textbook. It's usually bolded or underlined, so I just roll with what it says. In terms of formatting and laying out the cards, it really depends on what information you're putting on it. Sometimes you'll have lots of diagrams, sometimes you'll just have writing, and it really depends, but there's not like a formula you can use, I guess. You just have to be creative and maybe draw out in pencil what you think you're going to do, and if it doesn't look right, then you can change it before you commit to doing it in pen. And here is the second way I make flashcards, which kind of adopts a test yourself layout. You can literally use these to learn anything. You can learn vocab, you can learn definitions, diagrams. I made my flashcards for physics in this spiral bound notebook, and usually I'd refer to a textbook to make them, but I only had my notes on me, so that's what I did. I also mainly use the cards to learn definitions, diagrams and processes with more than one step. But basically all you do is write on one side the keyword or term, and then on the other more detail on that term, so that when you look at the other side with the one word, you can think about what that word is meant to represent and then turn it over to check to see if you were right. For color coding, I just use a 2-color system. I use black and then a different color for important words and the main term itself.
A great thing about a study group is that you can learn from other students. You can ask questions and get a different perspective about a subject from your own. It can help you fill gaps in your knowledge too. But to do this, you need to open your mind to other viewpoints and respect other opinions. Listen as well as speak. It might seem obvious, but make sure everyone in the group communicates in English. This way, it'll help you improve your understanding of the language and highlight areas that need practice. But don't worry about making mistakes, that's all part of it. Study groups should take place regularly, but each time before you begin, you need to prepare. Agree with the rest of your group about the subjects or issues you want to discuss and materials you might need to use in the session. This will save time deciding on these things when you meet. When your study group session begins, don't waste time chatting. Stick to your goals. You will only have a set amount of time, so stay focused and perhaps get someone to manage the session to keep you on track. Finally, the benefit of a study group is learning together, so make sure you and everyone else participates. Don't be shy and speak up. This communal experience should be fun as well as educational, so enjoy it, make friends and see how together your English improves. Good luck!
The process has 3 stages. You do a paper, you mark a paper, and then you rinse a paper. Now, let's look at the doing of the paper. First of all, you have to do past papers. It goes without saying. They're all available online. There is no excuse not to do them. It is the bare minimum for any exam. So get your hands on past papers and do them. The second process is actually marking a past paper. It sounds kind of obvious that you're supposed to mark a past paper, but very few people do. So there's two important things about marking. You must actually mark it, and you must mark it as soon as you've done it. That's where people fail. If you mark a paper a day later, 5 days later, you're not actually looking for what went wrong, you're just looking to see what went right. So mark the paper as soon as you've done it. The third process is the golden process. Very few people do it, and that's where you elevate yourself up 2 or 3 grade levels. You must figure out where you lost 30% if you got 70% on a paper. Without that process, you will not have made the most of that past paper. I used to make a list of every mark lost and why I lost it, and make a little journal of my mistakes. Every student of mine that has done this rinsing process has done far better than anyone's expectations. And it's something very few people do, and that's the reason why some people do the same past papers as you and do much better. So you must do the paper, mark the paper, and then rinse it for everything that you lost on that paper. And you will actually see yourself get better.
Audio note-taking apps allow you to make user-friendly enhanced audio recordings by adding markers, text, images or color-coding audio chunks when recording on your mobile or laptop. When these enhanced audio files are added to the desktop version of the software, your audio notes become a multimedia reference tool perfect for revision, report writing or blogging. Now, before I used audio note-taking applications, working with audio looked a lot like this. Opening Word, opening the audio file, constantly switching between the two, writing down the time code of important pieces of information, having to manually scroll through the audio until I found what I wanted. It was not pretty. Now, audio note-taking applications allow me to add images, photos and PowerPoint slides in line with text notes to bring my audio to life. Adding multimedia, multi-sensory content to your audio notes mean your humble audio recordings become something much more useful. Once you've finished creating your notes, the ability to filter information, edit audio files and export your notes to different formats means your audio note-taking can form the central part of your workflow.